Are we good? Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's licensing subcommittee meeting. My name is Councillor Patrick Walsh, and I will be in charge of tonight's committee. I'll be chairing tonight's committee meeting. This meeting is being broadcast live on the council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection at any point, Councillor Wesley Harcourt will take over from me. I'd like to remind all participants of a few housekeeping points. First, please keep your microphones muted unless you are speaking. Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add any information other than that at their allocated time to speak, they must use the raise hand function to do so that they are not missed. I also ask that members keep their questions and comments brief and to the point. I now move along to item 1, apologies for absence, and no apologies for absence have been received. And then on to item 2, declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest they wish to make? Okay, I'm seeing none. Fabulous. Okay, moving along then to item
Councillor Harcourt has his hand up, Chair.
Councillor Harcourt.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, and for the sake of transparency, this is an application, I believe, obviously from the council, and all three of us are sitting councillors. So is there any issue with this, just for the purpose of clarification, transparency and the minutes?
Certainly. I'm going to take advice from legal on this.
Hi, yes, councillors. There is no issue. There should be no issue with this. Section 16 provides that a licensing authority can make an application as the applicant, and so the committee is sitting as the, in a sense, adjudicators of the application, and which is separate from the applicant, and so I don't see any conflict of interest in this.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Okay, I'm going to move along to item 3, which is St. Paul's Green Park at St. Paul's Green, Hammersmith Bridge Road, London. I'd ask everyone participating to introduce themselves as I call upon you. So we should have with us Emma Gerard, acting as the applicant for H&F events team.
Hi, here.
Good evening. We should have Melissa Inman, also from HF events team.
Apologies, she has declined the meeting. Thanks, Councillor.
Understood. If that could be noted for the record. We should also have Matt Tucker, the licensing officer.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Chair, present.
Good evening. And we should also have Emmanuel, the council's licensing officer.
Good evening, Chair.
Good evening. And then speaking in objection this evening is Charlotte Dexter. Do we have Charlotte?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Charlotte. Okay, procedure. Before we consider the application today, may I confirm, in addition to the main agenda, there is also the supplementary agenda, which was published on the 23rd of April 2025. I'd like to explain the procedure that the committee shall follow. We will first hear from the licensing officer, who will introduce the application. We will then hear from the objector and finally from the applicant. Usually each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following the presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions to any party or other person present at the hearing. Except for committee members, no party has the right to ask questions of any other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of up to 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation. The committee will then retire for deliberations. Upon its return, I will announce the committee's decision. So, could I ask the council's licensing officer, Matt Tucker, to introduce the application?
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. Essentially, I wanted to just cover very basically the application, cover very briefly the supplementary agenda, and then open it up to the other parties, if I may, Chair. So essentially, we're looking at a site here, councillors, that is held by the council as a local authority. There is a current premises license in place and has been pretty much since July 2024. Essentially, as you will see from the existing premises license, those are the current hours that are in effect at the moment. The variation that's been submitted essentially has two parts. One is to remove the restriction for activity in October, in the month of October only. And on top of so that's the first element. The second part of the application is to expand the number of days that activities can take place instead of to cover the whole week. And also there's an increase in the initial hours to cover more increased licensable activity during the day. So effectively, those are the three fundamental elements of the application. We've had one objection. Objector is here present, and they can speak to their objection better than I can, Chair. And you have the applicant here who can speak to the application. We do have some supplementary. We have a supplementary agenda in addition to that. This was information that was received outside over 48 hours before the hearing took place. Because of the Easter holiday, there's been some delays in us being able to respond to that until this morning. But effectively, you should have a copy of that in your supplementary agenda, and that's also been circulated to all parties. So at that point, essentially, you're looking to see whether the application should be granted or not, and if so, to what extent, and whether, if what the applicant has supplied suitably mitigates the concerns that have been raised by the objector. So at that point, I will cease if that's okay, Chair, and I will turn my mic off at that point.
Thank you, Matt. In that case, we shall move along to the objector. So, Charlotte, you have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Yes, before I start speaking, could I just clarify, because I find it very confusing. Is this a one-year license, or is this now going to be a license that's for several years? Is the committee, sorry, I'm not supposed to ask questions, but I'd like to say it's confusing to me. I don't understand if it's a one-year license or if it's now going to be a license for, as long as... I'm
going to ask Matt to speak on that. If you, Matt, if you'd be brief.
Yes. Thank you very much, Chair. So just to answer your question, Charlotte, the application is the application itself is not for a time limited period in terms of like 1 year, for example. It is with a view to be granted in perpetuity, so it would go from year to year to year. There is an option if the committee feel it's necessary that effectively licenses can be time limited, but that would be down to the committee to decide whether that is the case in this particular instance. I hope that clarifies.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Charlotte, I will now begin your time. You've up to 5 minutes to speak.
Yes, okay, so I'd just like to go quickly through the application itself, which is applied under Section 34 as a variation, not as a full license. And on page 31, there are some reasons given here for applying that they're not to do anything with the licensing objectives or the licensing itself. Raising the budget and talking to the police. If residents came and said, oh, we've talked to the police, it's fine. That wouldn't hold any weight, I don't think, in this meeting. So that makes us very concerned. And also the way this thing is written about the year, okay, now I have the answer, but I haven't had that answer until now. And on page 31, I would like to make clear that this is a license for up to 4,999 people because the box isn't ticked. But in different places, I've been told it's for over 499 people. So I contacted Oktoberfest, who used this license last year, and they explained to me that this year they're looking to have at least 2,000 people, and that they will have tents. So they'll have 20 tents for 8 people, that's 1,600 people, and then 300 to 400 people at least for vertical drinking. The tickets, it might be of interest to you to know, include 1.5 liters stein of beer, but they don't include any vouchers for food and so on. So, okay, the next point that I'd like to make about this is that, sorry, on page 42 under K, there seemed to be, there's no concern for respective children. It's not applicable, apparently. I'm sure that concerns the committee. Then I'd like to point out that on page 47, it says that this application cannot be used to extend the period for which the license has effect. So we've just heard that the period is going to be extended in perpetuity and or to vary substantially the premises to which it relates. So going back to that, they're going to add tents, or they had tents last year. I don't know. I didn't go last year. I'll definitely go this year, though. So tents are considered indoors. So that's a substantial change to the license. So this should have been it seems to me, and I've spoken to certain people about it, it should be a full variation. In the supplemental information, I was told I could take this to court if that's how I felt, which I'm not quite sure that's really, why I'm here tonight. I'm here tonight because parks in Fulham, at least, are very concerned about this type of umbrella license, where residents will no longer have an opportunity to give the committee any type of input or make representations regarding different events that will be taking place in St. Paul's. But if you start these type of umbrella licenses, then you'll be looking most likely to be using them throughout the borough. And this is something that we're very, very, very concerned about because it takes the residents out of the licensing process 100%. So it's unfortunately doing exactly the opposite of what the leader promises us. I mean, it's doing things to residents and not working with them. So that is a great concern overall. And there must be a way for the committee to consider that with respect to exactly this application. As well, nobody, well, I won't go into it, I don't have time, but so that's a great concern of ours. And I believe this is a full variation process, and had it been, there would have been more power behind the whole application. So
30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. Okay. Well then, okay, I've made my concerns and points. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlotte. We will now hear from the applicant. Could I please ask Emma Gerard to speak? And Emma, you similarly have up to 5 minutes to make your representation.
Thanks, Councillor Walsh. I'd just like to, so I'm Emma Gerard, I'm head of the events and filming team, and events, as we all know, are essential to promoting the borough as a place to be, enjoy, learn, and to be creative. And it promotes Hammersmith and Fulham as the heart of London and a place to make things happen. We believe that by attracting investment by third-party commercial operators, it invests promoting how we can promote health and well-being by certain events that we put on in the borough. We enhance cultural opportunities and we foster community pride and cohesion. I'd also like to advise all the committee that we are very experienced event professionals. And by us, as the license holder, we are in the best place to be responsible for and regulate every event that comes through to our inbox. So we have various full applications like this one in Ravenscourt Park, where we have full license 365 days a year, Furnival Gardens and Bishop's Park, which is in fact in Fulham. As a resident of Fulham, you may see that we have perhaps 2 to 3 events in Bishop's Park. So we ourselves ensure that we do not overpopulate certain parks by having event after event after event, even though perhaps the license has been granted for a full year. What this gives us under the flyover is flexibility to have more than 499. It does not, it's not clear to perhaps everybody that we will be having 499 and more at each event. What it does state is that we will have events, perhaps could be 600, it could be 1,000, it could be 1,500. It gives us the flexibility of having these events, and these events could be for as we've done under the flyover last year. We had a brilliant 6-week season of children's activities, free activities under the flyover. What this space gives us is a wonderful hard standing space, which 365 days a year we could utilize if we wanted. But as I say, if is a big word that we use. We do thorough event checks. Otherwise, events do not happen. We have multiple event inquiries that come into the events team. We do our checks. Each event goes to a SAG process, and in that SAG process has blue light emergency services. We have our health and safety. We have our licensing teams. We work incredibly closely with all external providers to ensure that every single event in this borough is run safely and effectively. So when we apply for this, we are giving opportunities to commercial applicants in order to come to the borough and put on an event. We then still do those thorough checks, and we will not give permission to an event once we have done our checks, and that is background checks of where they've been in other boroughs. We will check that, and if there's any concerns from another borough, which we've worked very closely with all our London event councils in all across London, if we have any concerns about an event taking place, we do not run that event. So we mitigate all concerns. We have risk assessments, thorough risk assessments, counter-terrorism risk assessments. We have full event management plans, and we have the knowledge and experience to look at that. So this variation to the license, yes, we'll host Oktoberfest within the numbers that we deem fit to accommodate.
30 seconds remaining.
But I want to stress that we have the right team to deliver the right events for the residents of Hammersmith and Fulham.
Thank you, Emma. Okay, so we now move on to committee questions. And can I ask any members of the committee who wish to ask any other, can I ask each committee member to ask questions of any party about the application and issue that have been raised at the hearing in relation to the 4 licensing objectives? As a reminder, the 4 licensing objectives are: 1, the prevention of crime and disorder; 2, public safety; 3, the prevention of public nuisance; 4, the protection of children from harm. So do any members of the committee have any questions they wish to ask? Councillor Stanton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody. I only have a couple of questions, and they will hopefully be very brief. Firstly, just this is to Matt in licensing. If you could just confirm that I have the understanding correct, just a simple yes or no will suffice. Just to confirm that my understanding that the time limitation that was referred to in the existing license does not refer to a sunset clause or the end of the or an expiration of the license, but refers only to the fact that it was originally applied for just for one event per year.
That's correct, Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you. That's excellent. In which case, my next question is to Emma. And the question is this: the current license, the conditions on the license look as if they were written with Oktoberfest in mind. That's not the question. Hang on. Given that you are looking to hold potentially, I say this not in a provocative way, all manner of events, I do question whether really, I suppose my question is, are you content with those conditions? Because, for example, should you run, I don't know, a farmer's market, which may be selling craft beer, would you still require a minimum of 10 SIA registered operatives, for instance? So I just query as to whether the application as it has been put in is suitable for the purposes for which you wish to use it.
Thanks, Councillor. So just to be clear, those conditions on the licence have been all set by licensing police. We work incredibly closely with the licensing police, and in order for that Oktoberfest to be granted last year, that were the conditions for the licence, so agreed for that. For the question you've asked, what I would like to do is keep those conditions on the licence, which gives us the flexibility of having operatives, not necessarily 10, for example, at a farmer's market, but it keeps those very strong conditions on the license, so that when we have a license granted, and we, again, with each application, we will go through with our police licensing committee and speak to them and say, this is the event that's coming to our lap. That condition for those which should still stand in my understanding, and as it does with our premises licenses applications and permits at Furnival, at Bishop's Park and at Ravenscourt Park. The same are on that, including CCTV coverage, etc. So I believe that even though we think it might be extreme to have 10 SIA badged licenses security guards at a farmer's market, the license gives us that flexibility to determine and have that and submit that to an applicator if we deem fit.
Okay, thank you. I would say it wasn't really, I suppose, about the validity of the application, but more whether it was the right application for variation. But you've answered my question, so that's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I think that's everything from me for you now. I do have one question, which is to Charlotte, if I may. And Charlotte, notwithstanding your, if I call them technical queries or objections, I wasn't 100% certain that I understood which, under the 4 licensing objectives, which areas you were specifically objecting to in this application. If you could just very briefly just clarify that for me.
Yes, okay. I pointed out that on one of those pages it said not applicable regarding the children and so on. So I mean, that just, again, these can be administrative oversights as they're called, but it just didn't seem right to me that in this application even a gesture of a sentence was made. But beyond that, again, we're pointing to different types of events, different types of risks, and so on. And we have a blanket umbrella And yes, I understand that the events team will meet with the police and they'll meet with the community safety, public safety group and all of those things. But you won't be meeting with residents. So how are we going to have any
can I stop you
input?
there, Charlotte?
Sorry.
I
Yes, so
appreciate-
how are we going to have input into
Charlotte, let me
prevention
stop
of
you.
crime,
Please let me
etc.?
stop you.
Okay, sorry.
I appreciate you're concerned about resident engagement. I do appreciate
Yeah.
that, but I want to know specifically under the 4 licensing objectives
Okay.
what your objections are, and if it relates to prevention the children, then I will say to Emma, could you just address that point, please?
There is no stipulation in the license about the children. Basically, we are the application is to discuss around all events. So we will have various community children engagement events that are free and are and free events that we will host over 499, but there is no restriction on children's activities. And when we do children's events, just so that I'm clear, we have again full risk assessments in place when we have and appropriate adults at each of our events.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, Chair, that answers all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Stanton. Is there any other questions from any other members of the committee? Councillor Harcourt.
Thank you, Chair. I was waiting until Councillor Stanton had finished before putting my hand up. A couple of quick points, really. I think there was mention of attendance figures, 4,499 on one occasion. On other occasions, there seems to be some sort of confusion over that with 499. Could somebody please clarify what that is? I was also heard figures of 1,500 from Oktoberfest.
Matt, do you want to come in on that?
Thank you, Councillor Harcourt. When that was raised, I made a point of looking through the system. I'm currently looking for that for you now, so I can clarify that for you. I've noticed on the license it's not listed, but that may be just a technical oversight on the license rather than the original one. So if you can bear with me on that, I will get. Did you have a second question as well?
Yeah, again, here we've got an application for a variation of a license, and there's a lot of discussion around individual events and such like. It is my understanding, is it not, that we are looking at the license, not individual events?
So to answer to your second question, Councillor Harcourt, that is correct. We're looking at the license itself rather than the individual events. That's correct. Okay. Yeah, and then I will get back to you on the other question.
Yeah, no, I've still got another one.
Okay, no problem.
I'm looking for confirmation. Emma Gerard has said that there's a similar license operating in Furnival Gardens, Bishop's Park, and one other, which I've Ravenscourt. Is that correct?
That's correct, Councillor. Yes.
Okay. So it's not a question of this license being setting precedent or anything like that.
Technically, we wouldn't look at precedents per se in the licensing regime. We will look at each application on its own merits. Okay. But it would be fair to say, councillors, that the applicant has other licenses registered with the authority for other open spaces than the ones you've described, and that is a matter of public record. Chair, if I may, I may have to turn my camera off to find the information for you with respect to the point about the numbering. So if you can bear with me just a moment, I will certainly look in that so that it can allow you to continue your discussion.
By all means, that's perfectly fine.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, that was all I had to ask.
Certainly. Councillor Stanton, do you have any points or questions?
I have one very brief, possibly technical point, which regards the event, actually. So just to get back to the conditions, and this is a wording rather than anything else, in case, should we be minded to grant the application, it may be that some of the wording in the conditions needs amending to reflect that there won't be a single event held during the year. So, for example, on page 23 of the agenda, condition 8 on the current licence says, unless otherwise agreed, no later than 14 days prior to the event. And then the conditions subsequently refer to the event. Now, I don't know whether, just from a purely technical point of view, whether that should be amended to an event, for instance, or whether that will satisfy the requirements of a condition. Perhaps that question is actually for Emmanuel.
Yeah, I'd say Emmanuel is probably more of a legal question more than anything, if you're able to advise on that matter. Emmanuel?
Yes, Chair. Yeah, I believe perhaps maybe the applicant can clarify, but if it's one event at a time, then the wording would not necessarily need to be changed. But if there are multiple events going on concurrently, then yes, it can be changed to an event. However, if there's going to be an event each time, then I believe that wording doesn't necessarily need to be changed.
All right, Emma, this is also a question back to yourself then. Do you envisage this to be hosting a multitude of events at one time or solely one event at a time?
It could be that we have one event, i.e. one operative, one third party commercial operator that could host an event that lasts for over 2 weekends, for example. But normally an event would last for, it could be a weekend, it could be a day, it could be a winter event lasting a few weeks. So it's a multiple of choices.
But would you be looking to have events concurrently, i.e. 2 events taking place at the one location? Or would this be, as you say, one event over a set period of time?
One event at a set period, over a set period of time, yeah. But we would have different organisers, Councillor. Is that your question? Sorry.
I believe the question is more about, if you were to have 2 events running in the same space.
Run by 2 different
Yes.
people. No, we would have one organiser in one space at any given time.
Okay. Does that satisfy the requirement then, Emmanuel?
Yes, I believe the wording wouldn't necessarily need to be changed. It will be similar to October 1st, where October 1st I think happens over a period of time.
Yeah.
And so that's one event, and then if there's another event, that will be following that for another period of time. So I don't think that it necessarily needs to be changed.
Excellent, thank you. Right, is there any other questions that members wish to ask? In that case, Matt, I appreciate I'm putting you on the spot here. Have you been able to ascertain an answer?
Chair, I'm still looking. The disadvantage I slightly have is that I started with the authority over just over 2 months ago, so I'm trying to get some of the back history on the individual case. So I am in the process of finding that. So if you could bear with me for a couple more minutes, I should be able to answer the question for you. So I don't mean to hold you up any longer, but I think it's quite important that I find this for you so that you can make your decision.
Sure, okay, that's
Thank
fine.
you, Chair.
Would perhaps, Chair, if you don't mind me asking, would Emma be able to help with that, as they are the applicants?
Yeah,
if they might
Emma,
have
if you're
the
able to
information.
advise. Emma, you are on mute. Okay.
Emma?
That's it. We'll give the applicant and Matt a few moments to.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm aware I was on mute. Just give me one moment. I'm just trying to. I'll look for. Just one moment. Thanks, councillor.
Okay, if we adjourn ourselves just for a moment while we await for that question to be answered. I think is an important question to be resolved.
Chair, do you want to adjourn for 5 minutes and then come back?
Sorry, Matt, do you think that should be sufficient time for you to find this, or would you need a bit longer?
Yeah, I believe I've probably got a minute or so. If you can bear with me, are you okay? Just to bear for a moment.
Yeah, okay. We'll stay online.
Yeah, sure.
For
I
now,
appreciate that. Thank you.
and see if
Thank you.
can find this information.
Thank you. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Thank you, Chair, and thank you everyone else for bearing with. So I've just had a look through the information, and the application originally was for 499 people. So this is the original application. This license, the original license, came about as a result of an application last year for 499 people. So that is the capacity that we're looking at in this case. So the numbers of people aren't changing. So essentially, the issue we have here, and I think this is simply, sorry, I meant to say 4,999. So one shy of 5,000. That's the limit that was originally applied for. So what I can't quite explain is why the license doesn't currently say that. So I will have to take that up separately. I can confirm to everyone all concerned that the limit currently is 4,999. So one shy of 5,000. In this case, the application is not to increase the number of patrons visiting. So we are dealing currently with 4,999. So hopefully that covers it.
So as it currently stands, the existing application as of today is that the maximum amount of people that may be admitted to an event would be 4,999. and
That
the
is correct, yeah.
application before us does not seek to increase that number in any way.
Absolutely not. No, Chair. No, none. That's exactly 4999, no more.
So is that clear to members of the committee? Councillor Harcourt.
Thanks, Chair. Just to clarify, from my point of view, can we just clarify? Firstly, is the 5,000 or 4,999 over a single day? Because for things like Oktoberfest and other things, people come and go, and most other events, people come and go. So is it over a period of time? And a question, I suppose, following on from that to Emma is that, do we expect many events of that sort of capacity?
We've got a Matt first in terms of the per day or per event.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Councillor Harcourt, yes, technically you could have 4,999 people on the site during a day, for example. I think it would be helpful for Emma to then segue in with the answer to your supplementary question about those types of events and whether that would in fact happen. So I'll leave that to her if that's okay.
Emma?
Thank you. Yes, I can take that second part of the question. The answer really is no. We will not be looking at events that will reach that capacity throughout the year. The flexibility of having this license after 499, as everyone can apply for a TENS license, which gives you up to 499. This allows us to, even if we go up to 500, 1,000, 1,500, this license will allow that to happen. But we will not look to do events of that nature throughout the year with that capacity.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Okay. Do any other members of the committee have any questions they wish to raise? Just find you, Councillor Stanton. Where are you? There we are. Okay. In that case, I am going to move to summing up. Firstly, the licensing officer, Matt Tucker, do you have any summations you wish to make? Matt? Matt, do you have any summations you wish to make? You are on mute at the moment.
Maybe we'll come back to Matt.
Yeah, I think we will. In that case, we will go firstly then to Charlotte. Charlotte, you've up to 3 minutes to make any summations you wish to make.
Yes, I'd like to summarize about the 4,999. So it's on page 31. When that box is not ticked, then it is 4,999. We had this recently at another hearing, and it was made clear that that's at any one time. So you can have a lot more people coming, but at any one time in the premises, you couldn't have more than 4,999. So you could have a lot more people in the area. As I said, not the applicant, but the Oktoberfest London people confirmed to me that they're going to have about 2,000 tickets. So that's what I understood. I mean, Emma, of course, has more information probably than I do, but that's what I got in an email from them. I want to also apologize to Councillor because I do appreciate the question, and really my concern here for this exact thing is that is crime and disorder and risks involved, especially public safety in this area. Because if you order an Uber from your house to there, you go to one place and it's on the gyratory. So all these people are coming to an event or an alcohol-fueled event. That's more my concern. I love alcohol, by the way, but all at once, a lot of people coming, and especially dispersing. Everybody's dispersing at 11 o'clock from a big event, and they're ordering Ubers, and all these people have to deal with that. And when you're in the place, if you order an Uber, it tells you where to go, and it's the same place on the gyratory. And I think also with children, again, you need a lot of different things. There's one zebra crossing to get to the, towards the tube. So you need different type of safety mechanisms and monitors and people that they're used to. They're used to little people, people helping them across the street with their parents, etc. So these things are very unique to each event. That's why it's so disheartening to see that each event, yes, it will be looked at by Emma. I understand that, but we're lost in the process as the ratepayers, as the residents, as concerned parents, etc. So I would ask that if this is going to be granted, that a
30
lot
seconds
more
remaining.
be put into it, a lot more be put into this umbrella kind of thing, that it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, the glove doesn't fit all the time. And I'm concerned about the liability of the council as well. The council is not going to take itself to a review if something happens and so on. I don't see why we can't just have each event holder be liable for what they do and what they're responsible for, and not take an easy way out by having the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlotte, for your representation. I'm going to return to Matt, who we missed a moment ago. Matt, do you have any more summations you wish to make?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. First of all, Chair, I apologise for not opting into my time. I was just returning a call from Adrian Overton, our team manager. So I have nothing really further to add to the application. You've heard what both people have said in relation to the application, and if you need any other technical queries while you're in private session, then obviously please let me know.
Thank you, Matt. Emma, as the applicant, do you have any other summations you wish to make? And again, you have up to 3 minutes to make them.
So just going back to Oktoberfest, I just want to add that it was a very well run, attended event with no issues from police, blue light services. Everyone had fantastic feedback over that event. When we had 2,000 people leaving late at night, we discussed our evening late night departure with the Apollo. We ensure that we advise people travel by public transport, that there are not Ubers picking up people, and we live in a very well sited, the site is in a very well sited next through transport. Hammersmith Broadway is a 2-minute walk. We encourage people to take public transport to our events. It was well run and well presented, and the licensing authority from the police were very happy with the event and how it was run. Just to add that when an applicant takes our license, they submit a designated premises supervisor license. They become the DPS. So the license holder becomes the person that's running the event. I need to make that clear. We hold it, but the applicant applies to transfer the license to their name. They then take the responsibility of the event. So I just want to make that clear. I think that was maybe unclear to Charlotte, but just so that the applicant becomes the DPS. But we want to say that extra income is from all events, attracts more visitors, both local from outside the area, increase spending on tickets, food, restaurants, and boost the local economy. And by having more options, offers great choice to our residents, entertainment activities, and again, improves the quality of life for all. We try and improve residents from within our borough and outside to welcome people coming in to a wide variety of events, and that's what we look to do, an annual programme of events for everybody.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Chair.
So we now move to deliberations. So the committee will retire to make its decision in a separate meeting room. You are welcome to remain in the meeting room to hear the committee's decision. However, this may take some time. If you do not wish to wait, a summary decision will be published on the council's website tomorrow morning. So could I ask members of the committee to turn off their cameras, to mute their microphones, and to join me in this separate Teams meeting room. Okay, we are back. I'm going to give a moment for people to rejoin. All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for waiting. I will now read the decision. So, the committee has considered an application for the variation of a premises license to remove the time-limited condition of the license, vary the days and times of sale of alcohol on the premises, the performance of live music outdoors only, the playing of recorded music indoors only, and add the license activities of the performance of dance outdoors only and the provision of films outdoor only to the existing premises license under the Licensing Act of 2003. In summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all of the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of the four licensing objectives, to grant the application in full, to grant the variation of the license in full. The license becomes operational with immediate effect. If problems are experienced, then an application for a review of the premises license can be made. A copy of the committee's full decision, including its reasons and the full text of the conditions added to the license, shall be sent to the parties forthwith. If the applicant or any person who has made a relevant representation is unhappy with the terms of the provisional statement issued, they are entitled to appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days from the date of the notification of the full decision. So that concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your participation, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Chair.